Every day, thousands of people pass by or pass through Bishopstown on their way to work, to school, to college, to Cork City, to Kerry, to the hospital, to the shopping centres, and so on. It's likely that some don't even notice the place, and others take it for granted. However, others remember a different Bishopstown, a quieter, more rural place than today. What are the memories? What do the people who lived through the changes think of Bishopstown today? In this project, members of the Bishopstown Senior Social Centre invited these people to talk, reminisce, consider the changes. They open a window for us into another Bishopstown, the place that lies partly hidden behind the Bishopstown of today.
My connection with this area goes back to 1932, when I was 10. Gleason was the name. Gleason. We came to live on the top of Wilton Road when they were just building the houses. And our house was built and bought for 1,000.
The O'Regan family have lived in the area since 1918, when my grandfather, John O'Regan, and his wife, Hannah DeLay, who hailed from Dealish and Drimoleague, moved to the area around 1918.
I came to live in Wilton in the year 1932. As you come down Wilton Road, the first house there was Gleason's, built by Neelis Murphy. He was a builder. And the next 10 houses then down as far as the cutting, opposite the Credit Union, there were 10 houses. Timothy Welch built those in 1932, and he called them Congress Place because of the year of the UK Congress. Down the road then, there was only one more house there, McCauliffe House, and from the rest of the place then was fields all over the place. Nothing else, only fields.
The Bishopstown area, I can remember back along the line, it was like we had these elegant houses on Wilton Road, and then off west of that it was all fields.
I was born here in 1919, not actually here in Waterfall, but I suppose in the townland of Waterfall, at McGrath's Farm on the Waterfall Road. There's a small little room there, and it was there that I started.
I was born and reared here, like in the terrace of houses alongside of the Bishopstown Bar in the 11th of July 1928.
It was all green fields. You Shields farmhouse across where the Viscount is now, that was all farmland. Where the guards' barracks is, there was Murphy's, that was all farmland there.
Well, growing up there was very little, there was not many houses here. I'd say the populations were roughly around 500.
I moved to Denny's Cross in 1936. None of the houses were there. The Denny's had a farm there. I think must be nearly 100 acres originally. And then Denny's pub has been there for nearly nearly 200 years. I'm there 71 years, and my husband's great-grandfather was there then. And the only reason I think that they called it Denny's Cross then was because they wanted to direct the people coming in from Bandonside, and that was a landmark for them because there were very few shops or anything. That was the only thing there was Denny's pub. So that's why they called it Denny's Cross. So when they came there, then they knew they were on the direct route into Cork City. We built the very first little bit of the garage in 1937, and that all we made there that time was just a hoist to lift a car. And at that particular time when I came to the Cross, the electricity didn't come to the country until 1950. So it was kind of a miracle almost for me to see the car going up with the hoist.
We had neither gas nor electricity. I think the gas came around 1938, and the ESB followed on then in about 1945. But we had no water for a long time afterwards until the McCarthy, the builder, took them over from the African missions, and he in turn then installed the water for the people.
Prior to 1950, we had no electricity, we had no running water, we had nothing like this in this house. We got my father and 2 other neighbours got the electricity prior to the rural electrification in the late 1940s, just after the war. 3 of them got it in. They paid for to get in, so £40 he paid for it.
Oh, you had a pump further down, like, you know, not very far from the Bishopstown bar, like, and you'd have to get your bucket and go down and fill the thing, and if you went away from the bucket for a period, you come back and there'd be a big sod inside, and somebody would be after throwing a big sod into it.
There was no shops. We'd have to. I used to cycle into town for shopping. There was the Bishopstown bar. Now, all right, Horgans were living there, and they had a bar, and they used to also have a shop. We'd get small things there, like, but for big shopping, we'd have to go into town.
Well, we're here at the Bishopstown bar, I suppose it's called now, known properly as Looney's Cross, and it's at the junction of the Bishopstown Road, which continues out along here and goes out towards Bandon and Waterfall, and the Curraheen Road, which splits off here to the right and goes out to Curraheen, on out to Ballincollig and so on. And there's a public house here, and there has been a public house here for hundreds of years. Originally a small, I understand, single-storey thatched house, but many years ago built as it is now with this frontage on it, and belonged to the Horgan family, and subsequently I remember Noel Murphy being the proprietor there for years. Then some years ago it was bought and a big makeover took place. It was rebuilt, but they had to retain the frontage of it, which I suppose is a bit of an iconic front here in Bishopstown, since it was the focus perhaps at the junction here in the Bishopstown bar. It became very closely identified with Bishopstown over the years.
I mean, that time, like, the only pub that was around here was the Bishopstown bar, and you couldn't get a drink there until you were 21, because when you got confirmed, you took a pledge, and your pledge was for 21, and God be merciful to Mrs. Horgan that lived there. She knew all our ages, and she wouldn't dream of giving you a drink until the first time. And you get 3 pints that time for a half a crown, and there was 8.5 crowns in a pound. So that'll tell you, the currency that has changed like since then.
See, we moved in 47, and at that time where we live in Ross Avenue, we had 6 bungalows. That's all. You see, nothing else there. No shop. Nearest was the Bishopstown bar, and I didn't like it at all because I hate the country, and if you moved out from the city and all you hear at night is the rustling of the trees and a cow mooing and the sound of you could hear the Bandon train at that time, this awful sound in the middle of the night. I used to be petrified of ghosts, you see. And one night I was in bed, I was reading, and the book I was reading, there was a death scene in it. And just then the City Hall clock struck midnight, which you could hear at that time. And then right outside the window, there was this awful howling. All I could think of was banshee. This is what I've always heard. I froze to the bed in terror, but found out the following morning it was my neighbour's dog. But they were the things that frightened me. I didn't like the space of the country or the silence of the country. I was used to traffic. I came from College Road, and you heard buses and you heard cars and you heard different sounds.
There wasn't a house in here in Looney's Cross, except the Bishopstown bar and a couple of cottages, and Eugene Murphy's farm at the barracks now.
The road was very quiet, especially compared to how busy it is now. So I was well able to push the pram down there without feeling any traffic coming, you know. I used to have to go over to the old post office in Bishopstown to the kiosk to ring my mother, which was a bit of a drawback.
Just here on the right-hand side was the Bishopstown post office. I don't know exactly when it came here, but it was here for a very long time. The owner of it there for a long number of years was Brian Sloan, he was Lord Mayor of Cork. I think it might have been in 1979.
I would have been visiting Bishopstown from the time I was, I suppose, 3 or 4 years of age. So what you were doing is you were walking out, I think you walked out Model Farm Road and up Cauchay's Boreen. It was a Boreen then, it's now known as Rossa Avenue and Melbourne. So that has changed. So it was very, very underdeveloped. There were houses obviously on the Wilton Road. There were a certain amount of older houses on the Model Farm Road. The Department of Agriculture had a very active unit on the Model Farm Road at the time, and quite a number of livestock were kept there as well, and a lot of hens and that, and also quite a number of local people would have gained employment there.
It was very agricultural. We get our holidays then, we get our 6 weeks holidays then in school. We'd be, as Phil knows, we'd be tinning turnips and mangles out, and you get 3 shillings a day, and you get 18 shillings at coming home on a Saturday night and give it to your mother, and she'll give you back 3.
Even during holiday time, we had tinning turnips and mangles and planting spuds and potatoes and weeding.
So some were making hay, and it was in the fall we were picking potatoes, and it was in the spring we were tinning turnips and all the rest of it. All hard graft.
Well, it is now known as Ashgrove Park, but it was originally the model cottages, which were built, we believe, for farmers, workers back in the 1911, and there are quite a lot of the houses still occupied by descendants of the original families.
I got married in 1948, and our bungalow was building about 5 years. Our house was built eventually, but it was very hard to get material that time because it was after the war years. You see, the war finished in 1945, wasn't it? 1939 to 45, and our house was building, and it was very hard to get. We had to go to Bandon for to get a bath. I can always remember that, and lots of things everything was scarce.
Oh, the emergency, oh yeah, that came on then with an awful bang, and we didn't know what hit us. And blackout, and no cars whatsoever on the road, as far as I know, no cars, and restricted amount of butter or anything that you could get. We used to get it in town in O'Donovan's in Princess Street, whatever ration of butter you'd get. And when we'd bring it home to Wilton Road, one of my brothers would put it into, well, there were 8 children and my parents, 10 to 10 pieces. And you just had your piece, that's all. There was no more to be got, you couldn't buy it. And actually then my eldest brother was at college, and I suppose he'd be missing a bit. And we'd be all wanting his bit of butter. We'd say, "Oi, bags, John's butter."
The hospital site then wasn't there, like we used to be on our football there. That was belonged to the Denny family, but eventually they sold the ground to the hospital. They sold the ground in 1939, 33 and a half acres for 39,000. And that was derelict then for the whole of the war. They had no money to build it, Southern Helper couldn't build it, so we used to be out there still playing.
We actually came to live in Laburnum in 1955, and there was this big broad strip of land between Laburnum and Wilton, which was known as the hospital field. Now it was known as the hospital field since 1930s, and we kind of felt, they never built a hospital there anymore. But the people had shortcuts through the field over to the African Missions Church, which was our local church, and they established a right of way. So actually that when it came to the hospital being built, then we had this oral hearing before it, different aspects about this huge chimney and all these different things. But one was they actually accepted that the right of way had been established. You see, so when they were building the hospital, there was a right of way right around the perimeter of the hospital while they were building it, and of course it's there now because there are 2 entrances in the hospital.
Now our address at that time was Wilton Road, County Cork. And the reason for that was the city boundary was at Victoria Cross, and there were rates in the houses that time, and my father was paid the rates to the county council. The bus came as far as Secretary College. We had to get off there and walk up the rest of the way, and of course places in darkness, being in the country, no lights.
I remember it because I had to walk to school every morning, and walk then we finish about 3 o'clock in the day and walk home again. But sometimes you may be looking in the morning that there was milk deliveries there.
But sometimes we could get a spin from a milk butt, because the farmers used to bring in the milk into Mr. Young, and he was living right across from Hartlands Avenue.
When I was in Sullivan's Quay, by the time I get home, 'twould be 4 or 5 o'clock, and you get your dinner then. You had to do your exercises before they'd light the lamp, kerosene lamp, paraffin oil. You couldn't do much study with that before the electricity came. And it was time to go to bed, get up in the morning, go to school.
When we were bigger then, we went to South Convent. We walked from where we were living into South Convent to school for 5 years. Hail, rain and snow, and there were no raincoats that time, no wellies.
So we used to be out playing football, and boys from their schools would come up playing football, and we got to know each other. Then later we used to go out to Waterfall Road bowling. You know, we'd start all during the summer months, and we start bowling at the start of the Bishopstown Road. The whole way out Waterfall, up over number 8, down to O'Shea's pub, and we'd bowl the whole way back again for a shilling a score. We used to play a score for a shilling a score.
They used to play rounders, and the boys and girls sometimes would come down from the village, and they used to play kick the can, and then play picky and marbles, and all those games.
Well, we were mainly stuck in hurling and football every day, every evening, Sunday, all day Sunday. There was nothing else on. And like the lads from Chesley and Ross Avenue, it says now, we all go over to Toomey's Bog and we'd be playing there. And we were great. When we got an alarm clock, that was going to give us an idea. We'd be playing until dark otherwise. If we got an alarm clock and throw down in the court, we had no goal post or anything first. And sport. That's right.
We used to roll a hoop, grass a top, play chestnuts, play marbles, have a paper chase. We made our own fun. We hadn't any television. We were as happy as Larry. Made our own fun.
There was a big field there adjacent to the houses, and that was a big hollow field, and the Munster Motorcycle Company used to have more tractors on Sunday, and they had somebody in the gate above, then they charged us 6pence to get in. But I used to leave the lads in through my house because they could come in the front door and out the back door for nothing.
I was coming here regularly on Sunday mornings. All Bishopstown was powdered up in Bishopstown from the 28th of September to the 1st of March were coursing preserves, all farmland there. And all the drapers' assistants in Patrick Street and everything that used to assemble on the top of Glasheen Road. There was no roundabout where the roundabout is now, and they have a good Sunday here and finish up in the Bishopstown Bar.
There was no recreation whatsoever, so they had meetings and they decided they'd build a hall, and there was a dance hall there, and they used to have dances, I think just twice a week, and have, all the old Irish dances and waltzes and lancers and the sets and everything like that. And everybody used to come there, but of course, usually somebody grumbled about it, and the parish priest got to know it, and he was just closed down.
I left Press in 1949 and went up to Highfield.
Well, we started off with Ballinora. It was about 7 of the Bishopstown lads went to Ballinora, and then shortly after, with the Bishopstown extending that, we said we'd make a team ourselves. And we started off with the likes of Jackie Horrigan and all those. Now they were the older people that ran the committee and they formed the club. Now Ballinora weren't too happy at the time because we left them down. But we started, and Bishopstown grew from strength to strength from there on in.
We did well. We came up against big teams like Carcon, Garryowen, Shannon, Young Munsters, College. And it was tough at that stage. It was tough because we were very young then. We were very young. Then we're going back like I was only 20, 21.
There were 7 of us in family. And the lot of them, my mother, she used to go to town in the donkey car of a Saturday. And this fella now was expected to mind the kids and all. And you wouldn't mind, but they were afraid their life from me because I was up to all sorts of mischief. But at the same time, when I was asked to mind the kids, I minded them with the promise of a 24-ounce bowl. So that was one safeguard like.
Well, we played over in a place called Owen Toomey's Bog on the Bandon Road where William O'Brien's cranes are now. Yeah. Well, it was over there we started. And we used to tug off, as I say, on the side of the field there. And we thought we were in our seventh heaven when we got a railway wagon. Now, it wasn't a passenger wagon, it was a cattle wagon. We thought it was the greatest thing, at least our clothes were dry. But if we got muck and gutter on the field, then we used to wash ourselves beside the river. No showers, that was it.
Well, I was able to twist my hand better than any other one, you know, and I mean that on that hinges the absolute necessity of being able to bowl to you. They all pointed the finger at me, we'd say it like that. And eventually everybody felt that I was going to make it quite easy, like. But I had it all, and I had the gift of a complete swing and everything like that, and I made it all the ways. In Patrick's Day 1955, I laughed at it. That meant put a bowl over it, you know. But there's some of the bridge now after being taken down, and bits after falling off it, and so on and so on. And some people are able to still laugh at it.
Yeah, I became involved. I'm originally born in Blackpool, but my original club, whom I played senior football with, were St Vincent's, and I was involved there. But obviously, when I came to live here over 30 years ago, with a coaching background, there was pressure on me to help out, and when my own son started playing, so I got involved then in a fairly big way coaching.
I was playing for Highfield for 12 years until I got married. And then I just, I hadn't time then to be training.
Like when I think of it, they were great times. And,
they were wonderful, yeah.
And you see, we just loved being up in the club. And the kids used to love it. And when Tom would take them up of a Saturday morning, when they'd be off, and I'd stay at home, then he'd take the three of them. When they got a bit bigger, then Billy came along, my other son. There was 4 years between himself and Dave. So Anne and Mary and Dave would go away with Tom to Highfield. And I'd say, Tom, don't give them chocolate bars nor anything, because they won't eat their dinner when they come home. And of course they'd get a bottle, they'd get Coke or orange or whatever. But anyway, when Dave had come home, of course he was innocent, he'd run in and he said, Mum, we had orange and we had a bag of crisps and we had a chocolate bar, and Tom would be sitting behind his back. But he'd tell me straight away when he'd come in. But I didn't mind really. But I'd leave the dinner then until later. But they were great times when you do everything together.
And the people were lovely, and there was a great sense of neighbourliness, in the sense we were very far from shops. And if you ran short of something, maybe somebody would do a message for you. For example, if we were short of something for the garden, your next door neighbour might have a spade or something. There was an awful lot of that, compared to today, when everybody is self-sufficient and nobody knows a neighbour.
Well, of course there was a sense of community, I suppose, in a way, because long ago there were trashings and all the rest. You remember trashings?
Yes, yeah.
You know, that's all gone now.
And then
there'd be 20 or 30 men to be fed at the day of the trashing.
There was a great sense of community here, because the church had the confraternity, and they had on the first Friday of every month until on at 8 o'clock, and then you'd have 7 o'clock mass on a Sunday morning, and everybody would turn up to that. There'd be a huge crowd there.
When we were young teenagers coming home, we were very holy that time. We was going to benediction and everything. But anyway, my sister and myself, if we were ever coming home, there'd be a crowd of boys, teenagers, up at the top of the road, and they'd be playing pitch and putt or doing something. But when we'd come along, there'd be 2 of them come along and convey us down to our own gate. And that was that. We were like brothers and sisters. Never There was no dread at all, no sex at all.
Everybody knew everybody, like, you know, there was no such thing as who's who, and that everybody knew everybody in that sense, like.
But people were very, very friendly going into Wilton Church that time. If there were 100 people in the church, I'd know 98 or 99 of them. But now going in, you wouldn't know anybody.
All grown up, you don't know your neighbour now. You have to lock your door every night.
Anybody died, if a husband died, they'd be knocking at the door with a coat or a hat or a scarf or something, shoes to dress him up for the funeral. A great and you never had a lock on your door. Just lift the latch and walk in. Great comradeship, and that's all gone now.
I was dance mad, and we used to go to Arcadia on a Thursday night, and I'd cycle over as far as Callahan's, put my bike inside the wall, and there could be 20 bikes there, there could be a dozen bikes there, and we'd leave our pumps and our lamps, and when we come off the 11:15 bus, we'd go in and we'd get them. There was no such thing as stealing.
I remember a chap one time, he cycled into town to the pictures, and when he came out it was lashing rain, and so he met somebody had a car and again left home, and 3 days after he was looking for his bike, and he suddenly remember he left it outside the exam office, and he went down 3 days after it was still outside the exam office. So that'll give you the idea of the times.
The big boom started in 1950. The housing started in 1950, and all the ground then became this here was a huge area because you just go right in back all Sarsfields Road, all that area around, like, you know.
It started changing after the 50s, you know, when the war was kind of, from that on then they started building, and you know, Bishopstown was like Ballincollig, the nurse sitting itself. So you couldn't find a place now for the dog box.
Suburbia is a peculiar place because I suppose if you're living in the country or maybe far out, you may be a little bit dependent on your neighbours. You move from the city to what I call suburbia, and people have moved from all different areas and they don't really know each other anyway.
I couldn't imagine it developing anymore. I think it has developed maybe too much. Prosperity had to come, but it's unrecognisable. And I wouldn't, not that I'm old-fashioned or anything, you have to move with the times, but I think it's gone beyond managing. I think it's like Dublin, it's just sprawled and unrecognisable.
Well, people have changed, like, I mean, people have died off and people have gone away. You know, and people have come out from the city in here, like, you know, you wouldn't know them. The city has spread out, as you know. They were living in tenements in different houses like that before, down Abbey Street and all those places, and then eventually they came out. And just very cosmopolitan now. I mean, you walk down Partick Street, and I'll guarantee you'll hardly know anybody. I used to hate going to town with my mother for the simple reason every 10 minutes she talked to this person, she talked to that person. I said, I'm not going to town anymore. She said, why? She said, you do nothing, only talking all day long. She knew everybody, and everybody knew everybody.
The standards of life in Bishopstown is high. Everyone seems to be going somewhere and achieving something. And the only thing I can say, good luck to them, but traffic is heavy and there's a lot of wealth there.
Like, everybody accepted the hospital when I came here as a great asset, I suppose, and CIT and FOSS. But nobody ever saw the downsides to it. And like traffic, sometimes, and some areas of it now can be absolutely bumper to bumper. To talk about the M50 in Dublin, we'd nearly have the same here in the Melbourne Road, Curraheen Road, and there is a promise of a back entrance into the CIT. But I don't see that coming for a long, long time.
So in the background here we've got what is now a technology park, but in the past here we had the UCC, that's University College farm was here. But the development here of both the technology park and the development of the roadways and so on, and the greyhound track, I think has all eaten into that bank of land that was here. And again, it's just a symbol of the change that's occurring, I suppose.
And then there's a new phenomenon now, student accommodation. And we tried to persuade the powers that be to build accommodation on campus. But as you probably know from Bishopstown, there's student accommodation dotted all around, and big complexes. Now there are some downsides to that. Like all students aren't to be tarred with a one brush, but you probably get 5 or 10% that will, and when they're passing by people's houses at night, taking bins, putting them out on the road, and little things that annoy people,
Because there's such a thing as progress, and we have progressed an awful lot. With progress, undoubtedly, we have lost things too. But I suppose that's the price you pay for it.
There's no real centre to Bishopstown either. There's no sort of, I suppose, real meeting place for people to meet. Apart from the two bars, the local bars, the Viscount and the Outpost. Shopping centre, it's quite a bit from us really. I suppose the closest shop is over half a mile away.
We've lost an awful lot of the local small shops. We've lost small post offices. There used to be 3 or 4 post offices in this area, there's only one now. Most of the small shops are gone.
Bishopstown has been very badly developed. It's houses. But apart from Wilton Shopping Centre and things like that, there should be more available for young people. Where can they go if they want to meet? A pub.
And I suppose the other thing that's lacking in the area is and it's not only in Bishopstown, it's facilities for young people from the age of about 12 to 18. There seems to be a huge gap there. And you hear people out bushing, hanging around the roads, drinking and all that. And that's partly due to the lack of amenities. And Bishopstown Wilton was quite a small area when it started off. Like you probably had the Model Farm Road, you had Wilton Road, Bishopstown Road, and then in the 60s new estates started developing off that. And I'd say there was lots of problems that were probably common to everybody, like lack of playing pitches and community hall and all them sort of things, and I suppose that's what brought people together first. The community association began back in the 60s.
And then we got Wilton Park House in the 70s, and Breed and myself crawled in here on our knees, through briars and everything, cleaning up and scrubbing. We scrubbed the floors here, and the place got on from there, but it's until then the Meals and Wheels started here, which the SMA nuns were cooking before then.
It was Sister McAnise and Sister Natty who served the original Meals and Wheels, and that there was a small number of volunteers who collected the meals through a window in the SMA on a daily basis and delivered them. Today we have between 30 and 40 recipients on our books, and we're averaging maybe 25, 30 dinners a day on a 5-day basis.
Wherever people are living, there are social needs, and those social needs need to be addressed by society. And because we live in a society that's becoming much more and more individualistic, then it means there's more risk in all communities that people will become isolated.
For some of the people that we deliver meals to, we're probably their only human contact in the day.
The other thing that's happening with, I think, people at the moment is that they're very self-sufficient in their own homes. They have television, they have all the home comforts, they have central heating, they have telephone, they have computers. They can do an awful lot, and I think that has probably mitigated a bit against community.
One of the things that's happened within the health boards that are now called the Health Services Executive is the Southern Health Board developed a policy about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, which is called Ageing with Confidence, which was a very explicit commitment to support groups and organisations to ensure that older people were supported to be as active and as they possibly could be, and also that they were enabled to fully participate and to be as much part of society.
We have 6 computers here, and
We have 3 days a week where we have 3 classes a day. Well, the age profile goes from 50 to 91 at the moment. I had one guy at 95.
Only about 10% of older people are debilitated, are not, are infirm or are not able to move around. But the vast majority of older people are active, are healthy, and have so much to give to society. There's such a strong commitment within the people that I've met here to develop their community and to contribute to the community and to make things happen. And also I think that what gives a great strength to the community is having premises like Wilton Park House.
And we always had in mind to get something like this going. And we've really been looking for it over for many a year. And I must say we're very pleased that we got it. And it's thriving, it's very, very good, and everything is going very well here.
And this centre is at a place where what it wants to do is it wants to link into the local schools, it wants to link in with the local businesses, it wants to link in with the local sports clubs. So it really is like an ideal kind of place to coordinate that kind of further strengthening of community in Bishopstown.